Hello, good morning. Good afternoon, guys. Dr. Pierre, favorite board certified internist, founder at drpierresblog.com, author, speaker, soon to be podcaster, bringing you another episode 36 of the Lunch and Learn. I want to give a shout out to all of my replay viewers who will be catching this later, sharing this later, liking this later. You guys' support, much appreciated. Like I said, wouldn't be doing this without you guys, and I wouldn't continue to do this if I didn't know you guys actually liked watching it. So much appreciated. I'm going to do some quick little housework. We share and post where it needs to be posted at. But if you jump on, while I'm doing that, go ahead and share, and we'll get this kind of thing started today. I'm very excited. We're talking about skin cancer. And those who know me, I'm not a big skin cancer person. I don't really like dermatology. That's not my thing. I like internal medicine, but I definitely want to kind of reach out and make sure we promote and make sure everyone knows what's going on this month. So give me a quick second so we can get this show right on the road. Let's see. All right. All right, we are back. I am starting this process on. First of all, again, if you're just joining, I am Dr. Barry, your favorite board certified internist, founder at drpierresblog.com, author and the soon-to-be best-selling author. Very excited about that. That's actually going down May 9th, so be on the lookout for that. May 9th, we will be debuting for the public sale of our book, medical mogul book. So very excited about that. Like I said, you'll have more details. I have more details for you guys on Thursday about that to get you guys geared up and ready. And this will be for like the electronic versions, but I've had some requests for people who wanted like a hard copy version for me. I will be selling that hard copy version on the website as well, but this is for like my electronic, Kindle, Amazon, and whatnot from that standpoint. So today, what are we talking about? We're going to talk about skin cancer. And why are we talking about skin cancer? Because one, this is National Melanoma / Skin Cancer Month. So we gotta be very excited about that. Hey Amanda for joining. Hey, okay, what's going on? Appreciate for joining. We're talking about skin cancer today. So we're talking about we're talking about risk factors. We're going to talk about certain types of skin cancers. Why should everybody be really concerned about skin cancer? So let's just kind of give a little quick rundown of what skin cancer is, right? So for those who may not be aware, skin cancer is actually the most common form of cancer in the United States, right? Actually, in my private group, I actually asked this question, and I had a lot of people, I put the common ones, breast, lung, and prostate, and a lot of people chose those, but it's actually skin cancer. Skin cancer, we get about 5.5 million cases on average per year of new cases of skin cancer. And the most common is basal cell carcinoma. The second most common is squamous cell carcinoma. Basal cell accounts for almost about 3 to 4 million new cases. Squamous about 1 million new cases every single year. Right? So so if you don't get anything from this video today, the most common form of cancer in the United States, especially a new form cancer, is skin cancer, like by and far, and it's like the numbers aren't even really close. So when we talk about skin cancer, what are we talking about? We got about 4 types of skin cancers. One, actinic keratosis. 2, we've already talked about our basal cell carcinoma. 3 are squamous cell carcinoma. Now, from a skin cancer standpoint, the basal cell and squamous cell are the 2 most common types of cancer here in the U.S. And then 4, melanoma. And the problem with melanoma probably accounts for, from the studies and what I've been reading, about less than 1% of all skin cancers total, right? Less than 1% of all skin cancers are due to melanoma. The only problem is that melanoma causes a majority of the deaths, right? So again, you got this thing where, yes, it's not as frequent. I think we should be very happy that it's not as frequent. But because it's not as frequent, it causes, the vast amount of death, like here in the United States, right? So definitely something that, we don't want to, we can't, not even want to, we can't take for granted. So let's give some numbers. 1 in 5 Americans in the United States will, in one point or the other, develop skin cancer in their lifetime. 1 in 5, 20% of Americans, right? 90% of the non-melanoma, so that's basal cell, squamous cell carcinomas, are going to be due to exposure of UV radiation. What's the biggest UV radiation? The sun, right? So, and the sun, and then our tanning beds. Tanning beds has gotten so popular. Tanning beds have gotten so popular. So 90% of our cancer cases, that are, especially the non-melanoma cancer cases, are due to sun exposure or exposure from like a lot of these tanning beds, tanning salons, and everything else. Hey, Jose, thank you for joining. From that standpoint, there, Nilo, thank you for joining. So that's a concern for us, right? Because you can't really avoid, right? You can't really avoid the sun. The sun is there. So what can we do, right? Kendra, thank you for joining. What can we do for protection of the sun, right? Because, we got to protect our skin. Like I said, I just told you, most common cancer in the United States by far, and it's so much, there's more skin cancer diagnosed on a yearly basis than everything combined. When I say everything, I'm talking about prostate, I'm talking about breast, and these things get like a lung, all of these things that we hear about, especially in the news, which gets a lot of popularity in the news. Skin cancer beats them all, and it's like not even close, right? Rhonda, thank you for joining. So that's why we got to be really, really, hype when it comes to cancer. Again, you should be hype about skin cancer, but you should be hype about making sure you protect yourself from skin cancer, right? Because there's easy things that we can do to kind of prevent skin cancer, right? Very easy things we can do, right? One, wear sunscreen, right? And I get a lot of questions of what type, SPF. As long as it's 15 and above, you should be about fine. Now, there's certain areas where it's on the face, you can't wear certain numbers, but it'll tell you that on the bottle. But sunscreen is extremely important. Trying to cover up is extremely important as well. The big thing for us is definitely, trying to avoid severe, or not say severe, let's say excessive amounts of UV radiation, especially for people who do who are in these tanning salons, tanning beds, who like to tan out in the sun, because the risk of getting skin cancer increases almost 3-4 fold for people who get multiple amounts of sunburn, right? So if you get a whole bunch, I think it was 5. I think the number was 5. If you have a history of 5 sunburns in the past, your increased risk of skin cancer jumps up completely, right? That's crazy, right? Me personally, you not worry about me. I try to avoid the sun. I'm in South Florida, right? And hey, Dr. Kendris. Oh, Dr. Kendris. Oh, great. My dermatology friend, she's actually triple boarded. Dermatology friend is on the line. So if there's any questions, feel free to ask them while we got her here, because she's a very busy person. So what was I saying? Oh, so, again, I try to avoid the sun like the plague, right? So, I'm probably not going to get too much issues as far as from a UV radiation, but that doesn't mean I'm not protected, right? I'm going to talk about us, right? Because there's this, I was on Twitter the other day, and someone said something like African Americans don't need sunscreen, right? And I was like, it's crazy, right? So I actually asked Dr. Kendris, and she quickly answered that question. So we'll talk about, why even as an African American you need sunscreen, right? And it sounds crazy, but it shouldn't sound crazy. But for some reason, there's this rumor that thinks African American people don't need sunscreen or can't get skin cancer, right? And we're gonna kill that all today before the end of this live stream show. So we talked about the risk factors, family history of skin cancer, of course, puts you at a higher risk of getting it. People of lighter natural skin color, people of blue and green eyes, blonde and red hair. These are just certain risk factors that we've seen that a majority of people, if you tend to have that, you have an increased risk of getting skin cancer in general. Now, from the numbers standpoint, right, who is going to be more affected from skin cancer? It's going to be white men. It's going to be white women, right? Because that's, the majority of them. Because again, what did I talk about when I talked about these risk factors? I talked about lighter skin, white men, white women. I talked about blonde hair, red hair, white men, white women. And I talked about like this excessive amount of UV radiation. Remember, 90% of, we'll call it 90% of cancer from UV radiation is due to 90% of the non-melanoma skin cancer is due to that, right? So that's a problem we got to take care of like ASAP. Like that has to be taken care of as soon as possible. So these are ways that we need to kind of protect ourselves. So let's kind of segue into, my African American, because that's what I usually do a lot of these things for, right? What's the problem, right? What's the problem in our African American community in terms of skin cancer and just our bias in this of skin cancer, right? So first, let me talk about some of our biasness, even for me, that I had kind of growing up, even before I got educated and I guess quote unquote wise, right? Like I used to think because I was black, right, I didn't really need to deal with, I didn't have to worry. Skin cancer was one of those things I wasn't having to deal with. I thought I was going to have to deal with some other things, lung cancer, all those other things. So I thought that might have been a concern. But I figured skin cancer was going to be on the bottom of the list I needed to worry about. The reason why is because we hear that people of, and again I just told you, people of lighter skin, people of lighter pigment don't have the protection, which is melanin, for those who are aware, that black people have, right? We have more melanin, so we should have more protection, right? But studies have shown that that we don't even know we got plain melanin. And again, for those who know me, I'm about as dark as they come, right? And we just don't produce enough melanin in our skin, right, to protect us from the amount of radiation that we get on a daily basis from just being out in the sun, driving in the car, and just kind of being out from that standpoint, right? So that's a problem, right? And then these were some concerning things, right, that I found out, right? So I said, when I talked about the 4 types of skin cancers, right, I said melanomas is, even though it occurs the least amount, like again less than 1%, right, is the deadliest, right? So what happens in us, right? We African Americans are more likely to be diagnosed with melanoma at a later state, right? So we're already talking about the worst of the worst skin cancers, right? And what happens? We get diagnosed at a later stage. A lot of it is because we're not checking ourselves, and we're very reluctant to check ourselves from that standpoint as well. Not only do we get diagnosed at a later stage, when we do get diagnosed, it's at a worse prognosis as well, right? So by the time they do diagnose me, right, with this skin cancer, which is usually melanoma, unfortunately, we're at a worse prognosis than other groups, right? White, Hispanic, Asian, Indian. So again, we gotta do better from that standpoint. There, we have the lowest overall survival rate, right? Again, this is what concerns us, right? Like we're getting these diseases and we're not even making it. Right, we're not even by the time we get it, it's already, we're already getting written off, right? Because we're in medicine, the earlier the better, right? That's when I preach prevention, and in medicine, the earlier the better. And the problem is when it comes to skin cancer, and mind you, remember this is Skin Cancer Month, right? It's Skin Cancer Month, so if you're not hype about getting your skin checked during Skin Cancer Month, like I'm not sure when you're gonna get hype, right? So let's get hype for this month, right? So in skin cancer disease, we're getting diagnosed at a much later rate than anybody else, right? I mean, so that's the problem, right? We're just trouble just kind of aboard plays with us, right? And again, another fun fact for my black people watching this video, yes, you can get sunburned, right? So sunscreen is for you as well, right? There is no sunscreen that's for everybody, every other population but us, right? We need sunscreen just like everybody else. Some people recommend wearing it every day. I'm not sure if Dr. Kendrice has a comment on that. I'm not sure if I can wear sunscreen every single day. But there's some studies out there that say we should be doing it on a day-to-day basis. Not sure if I'd go that far, but we can have Dr. Kendrice if she wants to add a comment on that. Yes, I see a comment. That's too funny. What did we say? For dark-skinned people, we are more susceptible, and again, this is something I had to read. We're more susceptible to acrolentigenous melanoma, right? And I didn't know what this was before, I read this up, but apparently that's what Bob Marley passed away from, right? And this actually can affect the palms of our hands, the soles of our feet. And when we're of darker skin, we're more susceptible to that specific one as well, right? So if two things you get from this mention from me, especially this video today, I want you to get that one. Skin cancer is not to be played with, right? It is the most common form of cancer here in the United States. Like I said, it's killing prostate, it's killing lung, it's killing breast, it's killing all of those combined on a year-to-year basis. And then number two, especially for my African American people who are watching this, if you did not think you needed if you did not think you needed sunscreen today, please change your mind, right? We got to change that ASAP, right? So what do I do? Hey, so I've gotten all this information, now I'm scared about skin cancer. What do I do, Barry? What do I do? Maybe I don't have a dermatologist, maybe I can't get into a dermatologist. I'm actually going to put a website at the end of this link here that there's a lot of free skin cancer check organizations, most likely in your community, right? I checked it for South Florida. There's 5 of them. There's one in Broward, there's one in Boynton, there's one in Palm Beach. So there's everywhere, right? There's people who will check your skin for free just to make sure everything is looking well and like it's supposed to, right? So please, no excuse, right? No excuse to not get your skin cancer stuff taken care of. This is something, especially from African Americans, that we can, that we're dying. Not dying at a higher rate than our the white men, white women, but we're dying just as bad, right? So we need just as much assistance in trying to prevent anything from happening from that standpoint too. So again, I'm going to put the comment on. At least, like I said, I appreciate all of the comments. I'm looking at the comments now. Yes, so I'm looking at our comments now. I appreciate all the comments, appreciate all the likes, appreciate all the shares. Again, we I do this for you guys to try to educate you every time. I want to learn something and try to get it out to the masses, because again, I would love to everyone to come in my clinic and speak that 15-20 minutes, but we just can't, right? So this is probably the most easiest way, so that if I have any health information that I want to make sure the masses get, this is how we're going to do this now. So again, May. If you got a birthday coming up in May, happy early birthday. But remember, May is, especially for me, Melanoma and Skin Cancer Awareness Month, and 2, National Mental Health Month. And on Thursday, we'll talk about mental health, but today we focus on just skin cancer and getting your skin checked. So I'm going to put a link to the nearest, it'll be to a dermatology site, so you can get to find out who can do your skin cancer check for free. Like I said, send everybody over there, send mom, dad, the kids. Like I said, the kids, especially because kids, even I know kids, they really ain't outside playing like they used to, but they're still out there, so we still got to protect them as well. So, and I recommend all of my patients, my patients will tell you, I recommend all of my patients, when's the last time you seen a dermatologist? Because even though it's not from a medical standpoint recommended, and I can tell you what that means by not being quote unquote recommended, it just means that they don't want to pay for it. That's really what it means. Whenever you hear studies say something like, oh, this blah 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 is not recommended, 9 times out of 10 it just means they don't want to have to pay for it. Because if they for example, it's recommended that you see your primary care doctor once a year, right? So what does that mean? That means the insurance companies will pay for it. Right now, we haven't gotten to the point where they'll just naturally pay for you guys to get your skin checked by a dermatologist, or some other trained professional at this point. So hopefully it soon will be, but it's not at this point. So that's the case. So I'm gonna put a link. I'm gonna make sure we gonna get all of those excuses out of the way. Yes, you need to get it checked. Yes, you're not too young to get it checked. Yes, if you're black, you definitely should be getting it checked. And yes, you should be having some sunscreen. They're recommending daily basis. I'm not sure if I'd go that far. Dr. Kendrick, if you got any, you can chime in. I'm not sure if I'm going to do that from that standpoint, but I know if I'm outside, I'm always, my wife throws sunscreen on our kids religiously. That's what they do. They going in the backyard, she throwing sunscreen on them. But again, even someone as dark as me needs sunscreen as well, right? So that's what we need to get to the bottom of this. Let's fights skin cancer. Let's get skin cancer out of there as much as possible. And it just really just takes you guys kind of taking that next step and getting checked. So I'm going to see you guys later. Probably Thursday. Thursday's next time we're doing our lunch and learn. So I'm going to see you guys on Thursday. Y'all have a blessed day. Bye.